On former potato fields in the Long Island town of Hempstead, Levitt and Sons sold their initial Cape Cod houses starting from 1947 to 1948 for about $7,990, roughly $8,000, with prices edging up around 1949. If the husband was a veteran, he put down a $100 deposit he later got back, paid nothing else at closing, and walked in owing not a cent up front. Around 1950, the median U.S. home price was roughly 2 times median household income. In 2026, that ratio has more than doubled. The median American home now runs to about 5 times median household income, and in many big cities, the gap is even worse. Almost everything you picture about how the 1950s bought homes on one paycheck is wrong. Number 16 is the reason vets slept on a sidewalk for 3 days. Number 9 is a government map that decided who got to play this game at all. And number 1 is not a clever trick your grandfather pulled. It is the single machine underneath all 15 others, the reason the paycheck was ever enough. Hit subscribe, because what you are about to hear is not the one-income paradise the sitcoms sold you. Let us count down. Number 16, the $10 door. The magazines showed a beaming couple simply choosing a home, as if you strolled in and it was yours. The record is stranger. In the initial Levittown sales beginning in 1947, Levitt and Sons advertised extremely low down payments, reported as little as $10, and monthly payments in the mid-$60 range for the basic Cape Cod model. Veterans got the deposit back, so they slept outside his office for days to be at the front. The dream was real, but it went to whoever camped on the pavement first, not to whoever was owed it. Number 15, the house that was cheaper than the appliances inside it. The advertisers loved to show the gleaming kitchen, the refrigerator, the washer, the range. Here is the part they left out. A brand new refrigerator in 1950 ran $200 to $400, and a Sears washer and dryer set in 1959 cost nearly $380 together. Against a Levitt house at around $8,000, that means outfitting the kitchen could eat 5% of the price of the entire home. The picture sold you the appliances. The shrewd part was the house underneath them was almost disposable cheap by comparison. Number 14, the $60 month. The sitcom never showed the ledger, just the happy family at dinner. The record is a number. By the early 1950s, advertised monthly payments on Levitt ranch houses in Levittown were typically in the $60 to $70 range, including property taxes and insurance. Around 1950, median United States family income was about $3,300 a year, while by 1953 it had risen to roughly $4,200 a year. A typical Levittown payment in the $60 to $70 range would have been around 1/4 to 1/3 of a single monthly paycheck at those incomes. Today, the payment on a median home routinely eats half of a paycheck. The math, not the nostalgia, is what made one salary enough. Number 13, the 4% secret. Every rosy retrospective treats the cheap 50s house as pure luck of low prices. The quieter truth is the interest rate. In 1950, standard long-term mortgage rates in the U.S. were around 4%, rising toward roughly 4.5% to 5% over the mid-1950s, supported by low post-war inflation and government-insured lending programs. It stayed low for years. For most of the 1970s, 1980s, and 1990s, borrowers would have wept for a rate like that. The 1950s buyer wasn't just paying a small price, he was borrowing it almost for free. Number 12, the house that was smaller than your memory of it. The advertisers painted spacious, sunlit rooms full of children and dogs. The record is a tape measure. A standard Levittown house was about 750 square feet, 2 small bedrooms, 1 bath, an unfinished attic, on a 60 by 100-foot lot. New single-family houses built in the U.S. around 1950 tended to be modest, with median floor areas near 1,000 square feet and about 5 rooms. The one-salary miracle wasn't a bigger, better home. It was a much, much smaller one, and nobody in the magazines said so. Number 11, the 2-year house. The nostalgia machine treats the 50s home as a lifelong castle. The record says it was a starter box you were expected to outgrow. Levittown was built for young marrieds who would trade up, and Americans of the era moved constantly, for jobs, for a better suburb, for one more bedroom as the babies arrived. The price-to-income ratio was about 2. A house cost roughly 2 years of household income. Today it is 5 and climbing. The 50s family owned less house and expected to move on from it fast. Number 10, the assembly line house. The picture sold craftsmanship, a home built for you. The reality was mass production, Levitt himself called being the General Motors of the housing industry. At the peak, a house went up every 16 minutes on identical slabs. That is why it was cheap. 17,000 near-identical homes rose on one tract of Long Island potato fields. The romance said your home was special. The economics said it was interchangeable, and that sameness is precisely what put it inside one paycheck's reach. Number 9, the map you never saw. This is the darkest gap between the picture and the record, and it deserves to be told plainly. The Homeowners Loan Corporation, and later the FHA, drew color-coded maps grading neighborhoods for lending risk, and neighborhoods where black families lived were almost always shaded red, hazardous. The FHA insured low-down payment mortgages for millions of white families and excluded black families through those practices, even denying many black veterans the GI Bill home loans they had earned. The one-salary dream was real. It was also, by design, rationed by race, and that quiet injustice compounded into a wealth gap that has never closed. Number 8, the zero-down promise. Modern lenders show a buyer proudly saving for a 20% down payment as the price of entry. For the veteran of 1950, entry could cost nothing. The GI Bill's VA loan required no money down, and by the mid-1950s, veteran homeownership had surged past 70%, well above the national rate. Between 1944 and 1952, about 2.4 million veterans used VA guaranteed loans to purchase homes. The picture shows years of thrift before the keys. For millions, the record shows the government simply handed over the front door. Number 7, the no closing cost close. The magazines never mentioned the fees because the whole ritual of modern closing costs barely existed for these buyers. Levitt advertised no down payment, no closing costs, no secret extras, just that tiny deposit the veteran got back. Compare that to today, where closing costs alone can run thousands before you own a single brick. Part of why one salary worked was that the salary wasn't drained by a pile of fees at the finish line. Number 6, the trade-up ladder. Nostalgia freezes the family in one perfect home forever. The record shows a moving staircase. The basic Levitt Cape Cod sold for around $7,990. The later ranch went for about $8,990 in 1953. The larger country clubber went for around $19,000, roughly twice the price of the ordinary models. Buy the cheap box, build equity as the mortgage shrank, sell, and step up. The one-income family didn't buy its dream house. It bought the bottom rung and climbed. Number 5, the appliances built into the price. The advertisers wanted the gadgets to feel like the reward. The shrewder builders folded them into the mortgage. A 1953 Levitt Rancher came with radiant heat, thermopane windows, and a kitchen of metal cabinets with matching General Electric appliances, all for that mid-$60 monthly payment. Instead of financing the fridge separately at a punishing store rate, you absorbed it into a 4% home loan spread over 30 years. The picture said, "Modern living." The record said, "Clever financing." Number 4, the single earner who wasn't really richer. Here is the one opinion I will offer, and it cuts against the whole legend. Median family income in the mid-50s, adjusted for inflation, was around $29,000 of today's dollars, less than half of what a typical household earns now. The one-salary family wasn't wealthier than you. It was poorer in raw dollars. What it had was a house priced at 2 years of income instead of 5, and a loan at 4% instead of near 7. The paycheck wasn't bigger. The house was just closer to the ground. Number 3, the government as the invisible cosigner. The nostalgia industry loves a story of rugged, self-made homeowners. The record says Washington was standing behind almost every signature. The FHA and the VA guaranteed the loans, which let banks offer low rates and tiny down payments they never would have risked alone. The U.S. homeownership rate rose from about 43.6% in 1940 to about 61.9% in 1960. That leap wasn't rugged individualism. It was the largest housing subsidy in American history, dressed up in the magazines as personal virtue. Number 2, the impossibility now, in one line of arithmetic. The people selling the picture say today's buyers just don't try hard enough. The record says the ground moved. In 1950, a home cost about twice a year's income, and as of the mid-2020s, U.S. median home prices are around $380,000 to $410,000. And median household income is around $75,000 to $80,000, yielding a price-to-income ratio of roughly 5. One analysis found that under a mid-6% mortgage rate, about 3/4 of American households cannot afford the median new home at all. It is not that Grandpa was thriftier, it is that his house cost 2 years of pay and yours costs 5. Here is the challenge. Before I tell you number 1, look back at the 15 you just heard. The $10 down, the $60 month, the 4% rate, the government quietly co-signing. Ask yourself what they were all really made of. Not the picket fence, not the shiny fridge, something underneath every single one of them. Number 1. The reason the paycheck was ever enough was that the price of the house was tied to the wage, and the tether has snapped. In the 50s, a home cost about 2 years of a family's income, financed cheaply and backed by the government, so one salary could carry it. Everything else on this list, the tiny house, the zero down, the low rate, the folded-in appliances, only worked because of that single ratio. The tether held wages and home prices within reach of each other. Since the mid-20th century, U.S. home prices relative to household income have risen from roughly 2 times household income to about 5 times household income, a rise of around 2.5 times, while the paycheck crawled and the rope that once bound them together broke. That, not any lost virtue, is why it feels impossible now. These 16 were not a lost golden age of thrift. They were a house pinned to a paycheck by cheap loans and a government's thumb on the scale. So, tell me in the comments how your family got in the door. The Levittown starter box, the VA loan with nothing down, the $60 a month payment your grandfather still brags about. I want to know whether one working salary bought your family's first house, and whether you believe your own children will ever pull off the same trick. or whether that door quietly closed for good the year the price of a home stopped matching the size of a paycheck.